What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ Buck back with you. Buck, what is going on? Looks like you're home, man. You get a little time at home, or are we on the move? What do we got going on?
No. We're at the crib. We're just kind of hanging out. Just kind of moving boxes, man. I got to clean up some stuff, man. My office is a little junky. I got to get all this stuff out of here, get it organized. You know what I'm saying? Can't operate efficiently if you're in the midst of clutter. So I got to figure this out.
No, that's good stuff. I did that early, like kind of after the draft. That was one of my kind of cathartic experiences. I was like, all right, clean out the office, getting rid of stuff. And you know what's funny is when like our mentors, I'm sure you similar people speaking into you that I had speaking into me from my early scouting days, which was all about records. You got to keep good records so you can always have your information. And those old school guys would have just binders and notebooks and manuals everywhere. And I'm like, I have all this stuff in an Excel document. Like, what? Why am I keeping my old notebooks? Done. I haven't looked at them, so I'm done. I chucked them all.
That's funny. Yeah, but I do remember that. Like just having, you got your binder, and you remember we were just such driven by paper, right? So you get these 3-ring binders with all your old reports, and I got reports up top with Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush and stuff, and I'm like, Buck, you're not going back. Like, why do you have this from 2006? It's like what are we doing? There's no one that's still playing from that era. What are we doing? You know?
No, I remember when I left the Eagles, they were cool about everything. So they I was like, hey, I was just hoping they just give me my grades. I just wanted to have my grades. I had them in an Excel sheet, but just to have it. And they sent me all my reports on a PDF. Nice. For 2 years that I was with them, they gave me every single report that I had, background, character, everything. So that's the only ones that I hold on to from like old reports that you used to do. Otherwise, I would just like take the summary and cut and paste the summary into an Excel doc, just so I had those like a hyperlink there or whatever you call that to be able to pull that up. But I'm like, why am I keeping all this crap? I don't need it anymore.
You never know, man. You never know. You may have an epiphany and decide, you know what, maybe I want to go back to writing reports and doing reports and submit that in, critical factors, all that.
I want to go back and read my Hakeem Nicks report. Like I don't have that urge has never got to me there.
No, Hakeem Nicks. Don't want to go back and talk about Hakeem Nicks. No, I want to talk about him on the pod. We don't.
I think you mentioned his name the other day. You mentioned his name the other day when we were talking.
Big hand. I think he wore 4XL gloves, like big old mitts. I mean, I think the wide receiver room in North Carolina may be named after Hakeem Nicks. He donated a little money to the alma mater. Yeah.
Some of that some sweet Giants cash there. Nicely done. Today on the show, we're going to talk about bottom feeders, but we're going to do it with a positive twist. We're going to take the offense and defenses in the NFL last year, based by points per game and points allowed per game. We're going to have a draft, Buck, and we're only going to allow ourselves to pick from the bottom 16. So the teams that finished up there in the top last year, they're off limits. We can't touch them. So it'll give us an idea of some teams we think are going to make a leap, are going to make a jump based off the offseason they've had. Maybe it's the return to health with some guys or what have you. But I thought that would be kind of a fun exercise just to, we always talk about, this is a team that's going to take a leap. This is a team that's going to be improved. Well, let's look at just those bottom half teams and see if we can identify teams we'd like to make a nice jump this year. But before we get to that, this is a time of year where I love these little fun projects. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go watch all Tyreek Hill's explosives. Just I need like a little sweetener, right? A little sweet taste there. So I popped that on, Buck, and then after that, I watched a few more guys like CeeDee Lamb and some others of their explosives. Are we fully appreciating what Tyreek Hill is? Like, he looks so different and to the point where they move him all over the place in that offense. And obviously the different motions that they'll utilize with him, including the new one that they busted out last year. Buck, you never have to hunt for the number. Used to when we're scouting, be like, all right, who has the towel? Who has the different colored cleats? Like, no, I don't have to know. I watch them come off the line of scrimmage, and I'm like, well, there he is. From the all-22, it's he moves differently than everybody else in the entire league.
I think his ascension as a wide receiver one is one of the more remarkable things that we have seen. DJ, you talk about someone who was really a running back, kick, punt returner that Andy Reid kind of made a bold move when he did it to make him the number one receiver. that first year in Kansas City, he's the gadget guy. He's the trick guy. He's kind of in the backfield and doing a bunch of things. And Andy Reid was like, nope, I'm putting him on the outside. He's going to play wide receiver. And he has just become an all-timer in terms of what he's able to do. He is someone that just wins with speed and power and explosiveness. He has mastered the art of the speed cut. I mean, there is no slowdown in his game. He is rolling and going. And I would just say, we've seen speed receivers play in this league. Like Deshaun Jackson was an excellent speed receiver. He was a big play machine. But what Tyreek Hill does in terms of not only taking the top off the coverage, but his ability to take these things on the move, running across the field at short, intermediate range. I don't know if I've ever seen a more explosive or more dynamic playmaker on the perimeter.
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody like him. We can go back to young Randy Moss in terms of what he did in this league. Yeah. And Randy Moss can do things that Tyreek Hill couldn't do just because of the sheer size and then the ability to go play above the rim on those balls down the field. But speed-wise, it looked similar, of just him. He just looked like he's on a different level than everybody else out there on the field, how fast he is. And they do a great job. Mike McDaniel does a great job of finding ways to isolate him. And then, I mean, it looks like to me, not knowing how they've designed it, but it looks like to me they give him a lot of freedom too on some of those option routes down, like deep down the field. I think of option routes, I've always just think of underneath, 3rd and 4, we get the little tight end T option. Like this is down the field, and it looks like he's got the liberty to say, I can cut this inside or I can run a 20-yard out down here.
Yeah, it does look like some of those times he's like, oh, you have the option. You can either take it all the way over across the field, or you can take it about halfway, then bend it back to the corner. And it's just, it's a nightmare because his speed changes the way that you have to play. I mean, just the fear factor that he creates one-on-one on the island. And when they move him into the third position, because we always count wide receivers from outside in. So when they move him to basically the slot where there is that speed on 3, where they can match him up in zone against Mike linebackers, or it's a clear declaration of man coverage, night. He is putting people to sleep because that speed is real. And look, even into his 30s, like he is just, I mean, I know he's talked about retiring like at the end of his deal, but unless he just falls off a cliff, DJ, I just can't imagine him walking away from the game at the end of that. And you watch it, when you watch all the explosives, you'll see the different things people tried to do against him. And the Philadelphia game was hilarious. They tried to bracket him. So they're funneling him inside to the help, right, Buck? You've got the safety in the middle of the field. He splits them and then beats the safety to the ball on a go ball. And I'm like, what are you supposed to do with that? They dedicated 3 guys to him on that play, and none of them stood a chance. Like, it just, I don't know. I don't know why. I was just in the curious mode, and I was like, I want to just see all these explosives and how they're using him and what they're doing. And the thing wasn't, I didn't come away with a takeaway even of like how creative it was and to it. I was just like, this guy is just different than everybody else out on the field, man. And it changes the way that you have to play. It changes the way that you not only have to defend Jalen Waddle on the other side, but now you can't commit anybody extra to the box. That leaves huge lanes for Raheem Mostert, David Achane, all those guys on the inside. You can't deal with them because you're so worried about him on the perimeter. Truly tilts the field in the Dolphins' favor. And as long as Tua Tagovailoa has him and Jalen Waddle, their offense is going to go, because we've talked about him being a blackjack dealer at the casino table. He can get it out, and when he gets it out, he gets into the hands of a playmaker that is unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it's one of the cool things about this time of year is you get, let's get a little tickle your fancy here. What do you want to watch? What do you want to jump into? I was like, all right, I'm just going to peek at a little bit of that. The other thing I would say is that CeeDee Lamb matches with what the report was coming out in terms of the toughness and the run after catch stuff. Like he'll slant you to death. And then it's just kind of ironic seeing it with the 88 in Dallas and seeing, wearing people out with slants. I'm like, this is a tradition as old as time. Rocking 88 and doing that.
Yeah, all of them. You think about Michael Irvin, Dez Bryant, then CeeDee Lamb. They all have been able to go inside. They all have a physicality to their game that gives them an advantage. CeeDee Lamb is unique, and I know everyone saw that the numbers. As much as we talk about Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb's numbers are
right there.
Par. I mean, they're right there. Every dollar that he wants is warranted because you can say, look, I put up the same kind of production as the guy that we are saying is the number one, CeeDee Lamb has a good case. I feel bad for Jerry. Big checks, a lot of big checks to write. And I just don't know how you build a team after you write maybe 3 big checks to CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, and then Michael Parsons.
Yeah, no, interesting decisions ahead. But I do think that deal eventually gets done there. He's too good. All right, Buck, let's jump into this offensively first here. We've got the list. I'll read off the list of the teams so that the listener can know who we're talking about here. But these are the bottom offenses in points per game. So we'll start from the very bottom. And then I'll give you the teams that are available to be selected in this draft we're getting ready to do. So last in the league last year, you had the New England Patriots, the Carolina Panthers, the Giants, the Jets, the Steelers, the Titans, the Falcons, the Commanders, the Cardinals, the Raiders, the Vikings, the Chargers, the Bucks, the Broncos, the Bears, and the Seahawks. So the Seahawks would be like the number 1 seed in this tournament here because they average the most points of all the teams we just mentioned. They average 21.4 points. But that is the bottom half offenses in points per game last year, Buck. And I am going to give you the first pick here of the teams that you would draft here, looking for a marked improvement to get up higher on this list.
Okay, Ding, we're not going to do like the NFL draft where Commissioner Goodell makes us wait the full allotment of time before we send the pick in. I'm going to say right now, the Chicago Bears are going to be the top pick in this. They're going to be the top pick because Caleb Williams comes over, gives them a franchise quarterback with gunslinger capabilities. You think about the upgrades they've made on the perimeter. First, Keenan Allen. Then you have Roma Dunze to go with Cole Kmet. You have DJ Moore. You have Gerald Everett also in the house. They can attack you in a variety of different ways. And I didn't even talk about what is in the backfield with DeAndre Swift and crew. This offense is drastically different. That's why I believe they have to be the first offense to go off the board.
All right, so you're going to go with the Bears with the first pick. I like that. And again, they were second on this list in terms of where they were last year behind Seattle. So they are just barely in the second half, and you could make a strong case, as you just did, that they leap up. I've got a bunch of teams I'm eyeballing here, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons with my first pick, Buck.
Ooh, I like that.
Because I think when we've looked at them, and it's been this way for a couple of years, just missing the quarterback. You know, they've got a solid offensive line. The skill position players, obviously, they've invested heavily in that. They need somebody to unlock all those guys. And I think they're going to be able to do that. So I think Kirk Cousins coming into an offense that he's already familiar with, coming off that injury, I don't really see it as a big of a deal for him, a pure pocket passer. I don't think he's going to be using his legs to scramble too much and get out and get loose. They can protect him. They're going to be able to run the ball. I don't think the division is a world beater, so I think they're capable of making a massive improvement on their number. What were they? They were like 18.9 points per game last year. I think you see a sizable leap there with the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay, I like that. I think that was fairly obvious. The two teams we talked about, the two teams that had the biggest quarterbacks that they were required. We talked about Kirk Cousins being the gem of the free agent market, Caleb Williams being the gem of the draft market, and we know it. The offenses go as the quarterback goes. So that brings me to my pick, and look, I'm really rolling the dice. I'm rolling the dice on an older player coming back from a serious injury in Aaron Rodgers, hoping that he can, and being surrounded by a bunch of older players with creaky knees and all kinds of stuff, that he can get the Jets up and going. But if I'm a bet on someone, I'm a bet on the 4-time MVP. I'm going to say that he finds a way to make Nathaniel Hackett's offense work because he has all the answers to the test. And if he's available, this offense is going to be improved because he is the guy that is the maestro, the one that can orchestrate it all and make it work.
Yeah, they were on my list. I had starred them as a team that I was going to keep an eye on. If they can run Aaron Rodgers out there 17 times, they're going to be markedly improved because they have weapons. He'll be able to tap into that. And again, I wouldn't even say they're running Hackett's offense. I mean, this is Aaron Rodgers' offense.
Yes.
So he's going to have all the juice and all the pull and all the power there. Although, did you see, by the way, no, not as we've recorded this, we don't know why, but they said unexcused. He had told the Jets ahead of time he was not going to be here for this mini camp, had an engagement he wanted to get to. And maybe as you're listening to this has come out and you know why he wasn't there. But I was a little bit surprised by that for a guy who'd had I think he had perfect attendance there in the offseason. Do you care? Doesn't matter, does it?
I mean, it does, but it doesn't. It really doesn't matter, but it's just another story that you have to have around what has been a bit of a circus over the last year. But we'll see, because the only thing that matters is how they start. They got to get out the gate fast, because if they don't get out the gate, man, everybody is going to come down on this team. It doesn't matter, but man, you would like them to be there.
All right, I'm gonna go with my next pick, and don't hit me with the homer call, but I'm gonna go with the Chargers.
Ooh.
They did not have Herbert healthy all of last year. Obviously, the season completely got away from him. I know people have looked at it from the standpoint of Mike Williams,
Mhm.
Keenan Allen gone. It's a new receiving core. I think Joe Ortiz done a good job of getting a collection of solid options there. I am a believer in Lad McConkey. I think he's got a chance to hit the ground
Mhm.
running there as a rookie. But the offensive line is better. You can score it on the ground as well. That is allowed. So if we're looking at offenses that are going to take the lead, I think that protecting Herbert, I think he's such a special talent that he's going to elevate these guys around him. He's going to be protected. They're going to be able to run the football. I think the Chargers are a improved offense even after losing their top two wideouts.
Yeah, it's funny because you talk about that team. That team really wanted to commit to running the football. I think that is going to be a theme with my pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're going to run the football, and in running the football with a quarterback in Russell Wilson, or maybe Justin Fields, you have a guy that is a perfect complement to a run-heavy offense. And Russell Wilson, we've seen this movie before. We saw how this movie was early in his tenure with the Seattle Seahawks. They ran the football. He made plays. He closed it out in the fourth quarter. You're talking about someone with 39 game-winning drives in his career. In Pittsburgh, to me, it's kind of the recipe. I think we've talked about it. We talked about the Steelers' recipe and formula when they had Ben Roethlisberger was a run it, play defense, but in the fourth quarter, we need a little magic from the quarterback. The same thing is now true with Russell Wilson. If Russell Wilson can knock off some of the rust and just kind of bring back that magic, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be a very, very difficult team because they have weapons galore on the perimeter and in the backfield.
Yeah, the Pittsburgh Steelers kind of remind me of a group that's had some top hits, like some top 10 on the Billboard chart hits.
Oh, so
Singing,
boys to men. They're like kind of like
yeah,
boys to men. They've
but
been good.
then they kind of got away and tried to do like a different genre. Like they tried to change up, like, hey, whatever we
Mhm.
do is going to work. And then we didn't sell as many albums on that one. Let's go back to kind of what we know, who we are, what we do. You know what I mean? Let's
Yeah.
put on the matching outfits, the matching hats, and let's go out there and do our thing. So that's your Boys to Men reference there with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I like that one. All right, we'll go 4 picks apiece here. So this would be my third. Looking at a couple of these other options here, I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings as a my
Okay.
my continuation to not quit Sam Darnold. I'm not quitting him. And I just think with Justin Jefferson, with a play caller and Kevin O'Connell, with Aaron Jones added into the mix, who, by the way, when we were doing our consistent player episode, we
Mhm.
didn't get to the running backs, but in terms of what he's done through his career, he's been a very consistent player. So I believe in Minnesota. I believe that, we'll see if he can hold off JJ McCarthy. If JJ McCarthy ends up playing, I think it'll be because JJ McCarthy just blew him away. More
Mhm.
so than Sam Darnold not being able to be competent. I think they're going to have a good offense. I think they're improved.
Yeah, they're going to improve. Kevin O'Connell does a really good job of building the offense around him. You got the number one receiver in place. Jordan Addison should continue to improve in his second year. I mean, this team is pretty good. They're loaded. And I know the loss of Kirk Cousins has kind of taken some of the shine away from their offense, but they have enough firepower to be able to
They
get it
didn't have
done.
him last year. That's why they're on this list, because they played
No.
last year without Cousins. So I think, comparing Sam Darnold to Cousins, like, shoot, forget that. You're comparing Sam Darnold to what they were playing with last year.
Yeah.
And that was the whole smorgasbord of quarterbacks there in Minnesota.
Yeah. So I expect the Vikings to be good. So I am good with that pick. I'm going to go, and it's rare for a rookie quarterback to help a team make a major leap, but we did see it last year in CJ Stroud. We've already talked about Caleb Williams, but give me the Washington Commanders in terms of being able to make a jump. And the reason why is Jaden Daniels is going to add some juice and some electricity to this offense. Dynamic playmaker. We have seen what Cliff Kingsbury has done with these types of athletes at the position before. Kyler Murray was an offensive rookie of the year when Cliff Kingsbury had him. Look, he could follow the same recipe and formula. They have weapons in Terry McLaurin. They have Jahan Dotson. They've been able to bring over a veteran in Austin Eckler. there's some pieces in place for this offense to maybe make a little jump over what they finished last year. So I'm gonna go with the Commanders.
All right, I like that one. I'm going to stay with the rookie theme, but I'm going to go with a rookie wide receiver making an impact. I'm going to look at Arizona. I still believe in Kyler Murray's ability when he's healthy and they can run him out there. He is gifted, man. He's a dynamic player, one of the most electric players in the league, to be honest with you, when he's out there and rolling. And I think having a receiver like this, he's never had a guy like that at this point in time in his prime. Like he got D-Hop when D-Hop was a little bit on the downturn there. This is a different animal here with Marvin Harrison Jr. So I think this is an offense that could take a step forward. They've got some young pieces on the offensive line that just continue to grow and get better. I'm going to go with Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals with my last pick, Buck.
Ooh, Kyler Murray.
I wanted to go Tampa, but Dave Canales leaving, that matters. So that was the only reason why I didn't go in that direction.
Yeah, I can see that. I think he's a really good player. Baker has a chance. Baker brought out this guy, Sterling Shepard, brought him all out of semi-retirement. I kind of dig that.
All right, so you ended up Chicago, the Jets, Steelers, Commanders. I ended up Falcons, Chargers, Vikings, Cardinals. So those are the teams that we were drafting there in the bottom half that we expect to make a little bit of a leap here as we go into next season. Let's take a break, Buck. We'll come back and we'll do the same thing on the defensive side of the ball. All right, Buck. Let's flip over. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Let me give you the teams here. These are the teams in terms of points per game allowed. So we'll start with the best of the group here that just made it onto the list. So that would be the Jacksonville Jags, your Jags. They gave up 21.8 points per game, I believe is what it says there. My eyes aren't great. Followed by the Falcons, the Rams, the Bears, the Bengals, the Dolphins, the Lions, the Chargers, the Seahawks, the Saints, the Broncos, the Colts, the Panthers, the Eagles, the Cardinals, and the Commanders. So you went first on the offensive side of the ball, Buck. We'll go over to the defensive side of the ball. And I'm actually going to take a team that I thought they turned the corner last year halfway through when they got Montez Sweat. I like the Bears. I like their defense. I think their secondary is outstanding. I think Sweat gave them some pass rush that they sorely needed. And I like them to be I think they have a legit shot to be a top 10 defense this year. I'm going to go with the Bears.
Yeah. How about the Bears? Break them up. So both of us with the first picks, the Bears. And
how about that? That should be a much improved team.
Yeah. They're the million dollars. We expect to see them kind of make some noise. They're good. Montez Sweat was a huge addition. I think people should also pay attention. Was it Austin Booker? Took in the 4th or 5th round to give them that pass rusher. He is a perfect I'll say one-trick pony for that defense. If they're able to get the leads like we think with their offense, defensively they're going to be able to kind of create some headaches just given the playmakers and pass rushers that they have on that side of the ball. So with Chicago off the board, I'm going to do this. They were terrible on defense last year in Philadelphia. I mean, awful. But there's something about Vic Fangio coming over that leads me to believe they're going to clean all this up. He's going to clean it up. He's going to eliminate some of the mistakes that just led to big plays, demand more physicality and toughness, better tackling. Just cleaning up those two areas would give the Eagles a chance. And I would say that Vic Fangio gets it done without even really doing anything with the X's and O's.
Yeah, I mean, look at what they did in the secondary. I thought that was their biggest vulnerability last year. And then even in the draft alone, you just look at Quinyon Mitchell, getting him, arguably the top 2 corner in this draft. However, you stacked them up and looked at him. And then Cooper DeJean, I thought was a gift with him still being there and them able to move up and get him in the second round. I think that big time improves their defense and their secondary, which is going to lead me to my next pick because I'm going to stay there with using the draft to improve a secondary that needed some work. And I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions and their defense. You had Terry and Arnold. You had Ennis Rakestraw. I think both those guys are really, really good players. I look at where this defense is, also adding Carlton Davis to that secondary. So now all of a sudden you go from it being a major weakness to now you not only have some talent, you have some depth as well. So to me, I look at this group. I look at a defensive line that's led by Aiden Hutchinson. We'll see what they get out of Marcus Davenport. He hasn't been able to stay healthy when he's been out there. He's been physical and disruptive, if not productive. But I do like the different levels of their defense, and I think they're improved, and I think their offense is going to put them in chase mode, where they're going to be able to just run and chase, playing with a lead and really hunt quarterbacks and create turnovers. And that's why I like the Detroit Lions with my second pick.
One thing that I love and respect about the Detroit Lions is that they draft and acquire talent to the brand. The brand is about grit. It's about toughness, energy, effort, all those things that Dan Campbell's talked about. Well, the guys they bring on board, they are high motor, high energy players. They can play with force or finesse given the additions. This is a nice team. I just want to see how they handle kind of going from being the lovable losers to now a team that points to as a favorite. There's a different energy that comes with being the champ. They're going to have to get ready to face that.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, you're up next.
Okay, so this is one that it's kind of tricky because I took Vic Fangio early, but then I'm looking and I'm thinking the Seattle Seahawks could be a team that makes a move. Mike McDonald comes over, and part of the reason why this should work, his scheme coming over from Baltimore really simplified everything for the defenders. Even though they had layered patterns and all this other stuff, what they did is the teaching model allowed them to be more conceptual and kind of utilize some of the positionless stuff that we've talked about. In Seattle, I believe he inherits a unit that on paper, individual talent-wise, they're on par with what the Ravens have. But now, can he organize it, orchestrate it, and put it together? I'm saying that Mike McDonald can do that, and that's why I expect this defense to be vastly improved.
All right, I like that one, and I'm going to stay on that same tree. I'm going to go back. I did it on offense. I'm going to do it on defense here. I'm going to go with the Chargers because of Jesse Mentor and that defensive scheme. You just talked about McDonald, what the Ravens have done. We saw it at Michigan. That's what's taken over the league. And so this is a check mark and a belief in Jesse Mentor. It's also a check mark and a belief that this is the year where you're going to actually get Bosa healthy. If he's healthy for the whole year with him and Mack and Tui Pelotu, that is a really good trio. Matt coming off a career year last year, big time year. With those three guys, I think they'll figure out how to unlock Derwin James, get him back to playing at an all-pro level. And I'm going to give you a name here that's a sneaky name for an all-pro candidate this year, and that's Asante Samuel Jr. With all the chaos that they'll be able to create with these simulated pressures, as well as having pass rushers that can win with those three names that I just mentioned, the ball's going to come out. And where Asante Samuel might have some shortcomings in terms of some tackling issues at times, and maybe you could question some of the pure deep speed, what he can do is play top down, read, drive on the ball, and take the football away. You saw it in the Jags playoff game a couple years ago, Buck. We were both there in the building. We had 3 picks in that game. There are tremendous ball skills there, and I think this scheme, I think you'll see him. I think he's going to have a monster year.
Yeah, I would expect them to have a monster year. And you talked about the scheme creating opportunities. They can set traps with their simulated pressures. You don't know where it's coming from. The blitz pattern remains the same. The people executing the pattern changes it, which makes it very difficult for the offense. And Asante Samuel Jr., just the instincts, the awareness, the natural ball skills to make plays on the ball, he's going to have a chance. He's going to have a chance to do fantastic things. So you talk about being a homer. I'm going to be a homer now because I'm going to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. And one of the reasons why I'm optimistic about the Jags is the combination. Defensive coordinator, DB coach, pass game coordinator, Ryan Nelson, Chris Richard. Ryan Nelson comes in to clean up a defense that fell apart down the stretch, but he inherits a front line that features 2 guys that produce double-digit sacks, and Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker, respectively, combined for 27.5 sacks. He has some pieces to play with on the second level and in the secondary that will give them a chance to get it done. And as Nelson really puts his imprint on the front, Chris Richard can really do a good job of kind of making sure that this defense, the secondary, plays up to the standard. Tyson Campbell, you think about Andre Cisco, some of the other young players that they put out there. If Chris Richard does what he's always done, whatever he's gone, Seattle, then in Dallas and other places, these guys are going to play well. If they play well in the back end, they're going to be able to hunt the quarterback on the front.
Yeah, I like that one. I'm gonna give a nod here to a coach that I believe in here, and that's Gus Bradley. I'm gonna go to the Indianapolis Colts, and this is a defense that added the best pure pass rusher in the draft with Latu Latu. Kwity Paye is a really good young player. They have speed everywhere. We've talked about that each and every year. I think Gus gets those guys rolling. I think he gets them playing hard. I think the offense having the quarterback healthy will take some pressure off of them. I think Anthony Richardson, not only having him as the starter healthy, I think with him, even when he doesn't run, you have to account for him, which is going to aid the running game, which is going to lead them to control the clock. This defense is not going to have to play as much, Buck. I think they're going to be fresh, and we know that they're fast and athletic, and they've added some pass rush. So my final pick, I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts.
Ooh, they are fast. They are a very, very fast defense. They get after it. They do it a bunch of different ways. Gus Bradley, simplicity allows them to be very, very aggressive. And so I'm for it. This is a tough one because there are really some interesting choices to go on. And okay, let's go here. I'm gonna take worst to first. Let's go with the Washington Commanders.
Woo!
And one of the reasons why I'm a bank on the Commanders has little to do with their personnel and everything to do with coaching and culture. Joe Witt, Dan Quinn did a really good job of cleaning up the mess that they inherited in Dallas. Same approach, same philosophy, and Washington can produce better results. I just want to see the Commanders play hard. Like if they play hard, they have enough talent up front, particularly at the tackles and Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, to be able to make things challenging for opponents. But we haven't seen them play with great effort. That's not going to be the case now. Witt and Quinn are going to demand that. They increase the effort. More turnovers are going to happen. So they may not go from worst to first, but I certainly can see this team being a vastly improved team that goes from maybe the worst to maybe the middle of the pack. And that, by all accounts, should give them the nod and an opportunity to be on this list as one of the teams to make the biggest leap in terms of their performance.
Yeah, I thought Adam Peters in the offseason, you have choices, right? You can go with the big ticket shiny object and have one or two of those. I thought he did the approach that he took was I'm going to spread this out and we're just going to add a bunch of depth. We're going to add a bunch of good dudes, a bunch of leaders, a bunch of veterans. And that's going to try and just try and take the whole level and raise the whole level up a little bit instead of maybe being a little bit lopsided one side or the other, or a little bit heavy here or there. I thought that was the approach that they took. And that's where getting to your point is identity, culture, effort, playing smart, those things like that's going to be the collective, I think, that would raise this defense up more so than, this individual player that they added or that guy.
Yeah, I believe that is it. Just changing the way that they play, changing their standards when it comes to how they get down and what they want to do. If they do that, they'll have a chance. And that's really important. It's really significant for them. And if they make that happen, I expect to see this team play at a much, much a higher level.
So I'm looking for teams that made both lists. So if we're going to try and find teams that are going to make the leap. So Chicago made both lists. The Chargers made both lists. Let's see. Washington made both lists. Let's see. Pittsburgh, no. The Jets, no. Atlanta did not make both lists. Minnesota did not make both lists. AZ didn't. So those are the three teams. If you're going to say, according to us, who do we see as the three most improved teams in the NFL this year? It is the Chicago Bears, it is the Los Angeles Chargers, and it is the Washington Commanders. So that's pretty fascinating when you think about it that way, Buck, of teams that we expect to be holistically better offense and defense.
Yeah, holistically better. And some of that is a change of environment. Some of that is improving the personnel on both sides of the ball. But a lot of times it's coaches, a coach coming in, whispering the right sweet nothings to help his group, his unit play better. And if we get that, it should be exciting because every year, DJ, we see 4 to 5 new teams make the postseason. Maybe some of these guys that we're talking about find their way into the tournament as surprise teams.
Yeah, that would be interesting to follow. Nabil, track this one, log this one down. If we get to the end of the season, we can look back on the middle of June when we recorded an episode and identified the Bears, the Chargers, and the Commanders as possible playoff teams coming off of years where they were not as well thought of, especially from a numerical standpoint, offensively and defensively. So those are three teams we expect to make a nice leap this year. Buck, anything else you want to add before we jump out of here?
No, fun conversation, fun project to take on.
Yeah, always feel like you learn a little bit there. If you have any ideas or projects you want us to look at, by the way, some tape that we can dig into, this is that time of year. Happy to do it, and we'll talk about it here on the pod. Until then, though, we appreciate you. Thanks for being part of our community here, and we'll see you next time on Move the Sticks.